All right, today we are diving into a really provocative and frankly controversial document. Our source is an opinion piece from 2016 that reprints and analyzes a text from way back in 1987 called the Homosexual Manifesto. So let's get right into it.
Wow. Okay, so this is the final line of that 1987 text, and it really sets the tone for everything we're about to look at. It is aggressive, it's in your face, and it is absolutely designed to shock. This is the lens for the whole thing.
So here's our game plan to unpack all of this. First, we'll figure out what this document even is. Then we'll dig into the big ideas from the 1987 text, what it wanted for society, for culture, and for the family. And finally, we'll look at how the 2016 author presents all of this to us today.
Okay, before we dive into the wild content, we have to understand the structure here. We're kind of looking at a text inside of another text, so the context is absolutely everything.
This right here is the key. You've got two different pieces. There's the original 1987 text from Michael Swift, but what we're actually looking at is a 2016 opinion piece by a Dr. Samuel Negro. And what he does is, he presents Swift's text, but wraps it in his own interpretation.
This timeline really helps put it all in perspective. You've got the original text from 1987, then crickets for almost 30 years. Fast forward to 2016, and Dr. Negro republishes it, but he makes a direct, explicit link to the 2015 Supreme Court ruling on same-sex marriage. That connection is his whole argument.
Okay, so let's get into the guts of that original 1987 text by Michael Swift. We're going to start with its vision for completely turning society on its head.
This is probably one of the most quoted parts, and you can see why. It is deliberately inflammatory. The text is basically declaring this intention to convert the next generation, aiming for these very traditional male spaces, and framing it all as a kind of conquest over what it calls feeble masculinity.
But it goes beyond just shocking rhetoric. The text lays out some really specific goals: taking men away from women, getting rid of any laws against homosexuality, and even passing new laws to promote love between men. It's all a call to arms, a call for unity against what it calls the vicious heterosexual enemy.
And yeah, the language doesn't pull any punches when it comes to straight-up threats of violence. This line is just a blunt declaration that any insult will be met with deadly force. It really underscores this militant, revolutionary stance the text is taking.
So the vision isn't just about laws and social norms, it's also deeply cultural. The text literally describes a plan to completely reshape art, media, and our entire understanding of history.
It really reads like a step-by-step guide for a cultural takeover. The whole idea is to just saturate every single art form, books, movies, plays, paintings, with homoerotic themes, pushing out what it calls insipid heterosexual stuff.
The text also pushes this idea of a massive, secret infiltration of society. It's claiming that homosexuals are already in every single position of power. We're talking politics, business, the military, and it threatens to just out them all, to create chaos and fear.
And the plan even goes backward in time. The manifesto is clear. It intends to rewrite history books to claim famous historical figures as homosexual. The ultimate goal here is to create a new narrative where homosexuality isn't just okay, but is actually a necessary ingredient for genius and greatness.
Now, this might just be the most radical part of the entire 1987 text, its plan for the family. It's not about reform. It's about the complete and total abolition of the traditional family, which it sees as a breeding ground for oppression.
And the text doesn't just want to destroy the family, it wants to replace it. It calls the family a corrupt, broken institution and then lays out its alternative: conception in a lab, and then raising boys in these communal settings, taught exclusively by a group of homosexual savants.
Religion is also square in the crosshairs. The manifesto flat out says any church that condemns them will be shut down, period. And in its place, it proposes this new cult of beauty, where the thing to be worshipped is the handsome young man.
Okay, let's hit the brakes and shift gears. We've been deep in the 1987 text, but now we have to jump back to 2016 and look at how the author, Dr. Negro, actually presents this thing to us, because this framing is really the core of the document we're analyzing.
So Dr. Negro doesn't just present this text as, some fringe piece of writing or satire. No, he gives it a new name, the Gay Cult Constitution. By calling it that, he's framing it as a literal blueprint, a founding document for an agenda that he believes is now being carried out.
And this slide shows you exactly how he does it. On the left, you have a demand straight from the 1987 manifesto.
And on the right, you have Dr. Negro's commentary from 2016, where he draws a straight line from that demand to the 2015 Supreme Court decision. For him, that's proof of implementation.
Dr. Negro wraps up his entire piece with this statement, and notice it's in all caps. He's arguing that the only reason you haven't heard about this manifesto is because of a giant media conspiracy. He's not saying it's just an oversight, he's calling it an act of pure evil by journalists.
So, that's our breakdown. We've seen the raw, shocking text from 1987, and we've also seen the modern, conspiratorial frame that was put around it in 2016. It kind of leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? How much does the frame we put around something, the context, the commentary, change what that thing actually means?